Hi, and welcome to Lesson 1. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to make a table to display the results of a survey that compares gender and transportation. Now notice that in our survey, we also have student numbers, and you can see the student numbers are in the first column. We have gender in our second column here, transportation in the third one. And by the way, S or M means that that person falls into the category of either driving an SUV or a minivan. The next column is dietary choice. An omnivore, they eat both meat and vegetables. A vegetarian doesn't eat meat. And we don't have any vegans in this survey, and the amount of time that people exercise per week. So in this table, we can only display two categories. And so the categories that I've decided we're going to look at today are gender and transportation. So let's begin. Now I'm going to have to go back and forth between this, and hopefully that's not too distracting, but here's how we begin. You could set up your table either way. I'm going to put gender over here on the left. And the genders that we have, let's take a look. If we come back up here, it looks like in this one I have a gender is male and female. And sometimes you might even have other. But let's take a look. So gender, today we have males and females. So those are my two genders. Now, when we take a look at this, for example, my very first person is, if we look in the student number 1, is a female that drives an SUV or minivan. Now let's go down the list here and let's look. One of our categories for transportation are they drive either an SUV or a minivan, or they might drive a car. And look at this. Here's someone that drives a truck. And here is a female that uses some other mode of transportation. This could be a bicycle, or maybe they took the bus into school that day. So what we do is we put a line above the gender, and hopefully that line is really not very horizontal, so let's see if I can do a better job. There we go. So now what we do is we put our categories on the top. So this will be our transportation here. And if I recall correctly, this was a survey taken from another Math 114 class. So let's put our categories. We have the person might drive an SUV or minivan. I'm just going to call it S/M. The next person drives a car. The next person we had was a truck. And then finally we had an other. So here's how we use our table. And we're going to clean it up over as we go through this. There's a few steps to making a nice table, or a complete table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my let's do this. Let's use a light green highlighter to denote when we've categorized that person. So let's go, here we go. Our first person is female SUV or minivan. So what that means is, now to make a good table, you really don't supposed to have well, let me come back. Let's do this. Okay, when we're talking about rows, when we're talking about information that's horizontal, these are called the rows. And so let's keep track of this in a different color. So these are my rows. And rows are always the horizontal information. Okay. Now, if I wanted to take a look at people that drive SUVs and minivans or cars or trucks or other, this information is recorded vertically. It's recorded vertically in a column. So these are always our vertical information. Now, when we take a look at our first person, it was a female that drives an SUV. So to keep track of this, I'm going to put just a little vertical mark, and we call those a tick mark. This is a tick mark. I'm going to put our tick mark right there. And then each group of 5 will cross with a with a diagonal. So let's begin. So we're going to go through this entire process. So now our second person is a female also that drives an SUV or minivan. So then we come down, we put another tick mark under female SUV or minivan. Then we come back up. Our next person, let's see, our next person is a male that drives a car. So now we come down here and we go along the row, males, so we're traveling this way and this way. And where these two meet, where a row and a column meet, this is called a cell. Okay? So we record the two pieces where they meet with a tick mark, just like we've already done for two females. Let's continue. My next person is a female that drives a car. So let's come down. We go across the row for females, all the way into the column for cars, and I put another tick mark. And we continue. The next one, let's see, we have a male. Oh, no, another female that drives a car. So I come here and females in the row, car column, put another tick mark. The next one is a male that drives a car. So I have another tick mark in the male car cell. Then I continue this. The next person is female, sporting an SUV or minivan. Oh, look at this, another female in an SUV or minivan. Come back up. And we're going to do this for every piece of data. And it might seem a little redundant, but it's good to keep practice. So male driving a car is our next person. So that's another tick mark there. My next person is female in a car. So female car gives me my third tick mark in that cell. And let's see, our next person, oh, here's that lone male that drives a truck. So I'm going to put a tick mark. I'll put it down here just because I was annotating. Let's go back up. Female in a car. Female in a car. It gives me 4 tick marks here. And let's see, my next one is a male. Oops. Is a male driving a car. So we come across. Male. Oop, need my red. Male, car, 4 tick marks. Okay, next person. This is a female that drives a car, and look at what happens now. So this is purely for the sake of clarity. After 4 tick marks, you could put a 5th one, but look at how they blend. And that becomes really difficult to track. So what we do is we undo that, and then for our 1, 2, 3, 4, our fifth person, we just put a slash across it. So we always, whenever you have a slash, that represents a group of 5, and when we come back and count, it makes it really easy to track or to count. So let's continue. Our next person here is a female using some other mode of transportation. So we would record the female in the other category here. So the females row, other column, and we put this red tick mark. Continuing, we have a female in a car again. So we start a new batch of tick marks then. 1, and then we come back up, and our next, oh, and look at this, we have another female in a car and then a male in a car. And so we'll record those last 2. So we said we have a female in a car, a male in a car. That's going to be the 5th tick mark for that cell. So you could have just gone and counted it, but I think going through the process of using the tick marks and systematically crossing one off after you've done it, it removes error, and it's very easy to make a mistake if you do it another route. So that's what I would encourage. Now what we do is let's go put all this together and make our table, use the dark blue, and make a final version of our table. So you can see our table here. I'm going to kind of move transportation out. And let's do this. I'm going to go right about there. So when we make our new table, we would have, I'll make it a little smaller here. We have transportation. And let's see, our transportation, and let's see, we have over here, we have SUV, minivan, car, truck, other. Okay, and let's make our line underneath these. And then let's make our next one. We have males. So for our gender over here, we have males and females. I'm going to put a line under here. Now I purposely extended those lines out, and hang on, we're going to take a look at what I was up to. So we should record one for every piece of data. So let's look at our highlighter. How many males were driving SUVs? That would be this cell up here. And notice there were none, so down below we would record a 0. Let's go to the next cell. Males that drive cars, we had 5. So I'll record a 5. 5 tick marks, so we just write the number 5. We had 1 male driving a truck, and no males using other modes of transportation. When we look at females, we have 3 females in SUVs or minivans. We had, looks like, wow, we have 7 tick marks. Notice that when we do this, here's our group of 5, plus we had 2 more, so we count those tick marks. We have 7 females driving cars, or driving a car. We have 0 in a truck, and we had 1 using another mode of transportation. So at this point, you've made a complete table. But there's one more thing that you can do, and we're going to do that now. Oftentimes in a table, the final column and the final row will be totals. So let's write this, total. So I'll have a row total, so I'm going to have to, I'll make that. This is the row total. And over here, we're going to have a column total. So a total of columns. And then let's do this. We'll make our total here. And now here's what's interesting. What we do for this total is then we add all of the pieces of that row that go into the last column. So this total here, and I'll write it over here, is the 0 plus the 5 plus the 1 plus the 0. I add that up and I have 6. Now for my females, I add up a 3 plus a 7 plus a 0 plus a 1. Let's see, 7 plus 3 is 10, and 1 more. That would be 11. Now, let's do the same with the columns. And I'm going to bring this line over as well. Then I have, let's see, so for my first column, I'm going to add up the 0 plus the 3, and that's going to tell me that I have 3 people that drove SUVs or minivans. My next column is the 5 plus the 7. Well, that's 12. That tells me that 12 people drove cars. For trucks, I have a 1 plus a 0, so we have 1 person driving a truck. And my other column is a 0 plus 1, so I would say that I have 1 person that used other modes of transportation. Now, here is the final check to make sure our table is as correct as we can be. And that is, let's take and let's find the total of this final row and the total of this column. So let's try the column total first. That would be 6 plus 11. That would be 17. Now, if I take the row, I would take my 3 plus my 12 plus a 1, plus 1 plus another 1. Well, let's see. 3 and 12 is 15, plus 1 is 16, plus 1 more, that's 17. And I should have noticed this, and that is, we know we did it right if this total of the columns is equal to the total of that row. And even more, and here is the beauty of all of this, is if we go all the way back to where we began, notice this. We had 17, I'll use it, oops, better use a pencil here. We had 17 people total. And since all of those match, the column total, the row total, and the final count from the table, we know that we've recorded each person exactly once. So my final closing comments are, and these are a little particular. If you were going to make a formal table for a public presentation, it should look like the one that you see here. Notice that the cells aren't blocked out like we did up above for the sake of keeping track. But in the final presentation, that's how your table should look. And that's how you make a table. Thanks for watching.